We often fall into the trap of thinking that if we just chase hard enough, show up enough, give enough, we'll be chosen. We believe that effort alone is the magic formula, that if we prove our worth loudly and persistently, the other person will finally see it. But that's not how it works, not when someone has options. When someone is surrounded by choices, they're not looking for more noise. They're looking for a reason to feel something different. The mistake we make is trying to outcompete rather than stand out. We flood them with attention, compliments, availability, all of which can start to feel transactional. People don't remember what you did to impress them. They remember how they felt around you. The real win isn't being chosen because you shouted the loudest. It's being chosen because when they were with you, they felt something they didn't feel with anyone else. Think about the moments in your life when you felt drawn to someone. It wasn't just what they said or did. It was how they made you feel in their presence. Maybe they brought a calm into your chaos, or maybe they made you laugh in a way that felt effortless. The people we gravitate toward most aren't necessarily the most impressive. They're the ones who made us feel most ourselves. When you're with someone who gives you space to be you, it's like breathing for the first time. That kind of emotional resonance is rare, and it's powerful. You become memorable not because you tried to be, but because you connected on a real level. It's not about being more exciting or more desirable than someone else. It's about being emotionally impactful. Be the person who gets them, not just wants them. We confuse effort with influence. You can work hard to prove your value, but if it doesn't land emotionally, it won't matter. This is especially true when someone has options. When they're being courted, flattered, and pursued by multiple people, they start to tune out the noise. Everyone is trying to impress them, but very few are trying to connect. They might hear compliments all day, but do they feel seen? Do they feel understood? Do they feel safe, not judged when they're around you? When you become the person who creates that space, one where they don't need to perform, they'll crave it. People choose peace over pressure, connection over chaos, presence over posturing. What you offer isn't just your looks, your achievements, or your charisma. It's the experience of being around you. That's the secret most people miss. They focus on external packaging, the perfect date, the witty text, the right moves. But none of that matters if the energy doesn't land. When you meet someone who makes you feel calm, excited, and truly seen, you remember them. You could go on 10 dates with 10 impressive people and still keep thinking about the one who made you feel alive and at ease. That's the difference between presence and performance. People with options aren't looking for more performances. They are craving something real. Be the person who brings that realness unapologetically. Being emotionally impactful doesn't mean being heavy. It means being real. So many people are trying so hard to impress that they forget to connect. They tell their best stories, wear their best outfits, say all the right things, and yet something feels off. Why? Because it's all curated. There's no emotional risk, and when there's no vulnerability, there's no intimacy. If you want to be unforgettable, allow someone to see not just the polished version of you, but the human one. Let them see your quirks, your thoughts, your weird sense of humor. When they feel you're being authentic, not auditioning, they lower their walls. That's when real magic happens. So instead of asking, how can I be more attractive than the others? Ask, how can I create a connection they'll remember? The truth is, they may go on dates with people who are flashier, wealthier, louder. But when they're lying in bed thinking about who got them, they'll remember you. Not because you were the loudest, but because you were the most emotionally present. That's what people choose. They don't always pick the shiniest option. They pick the one that resonates. You don't need to sell yourself. You just need to bring yourself fully, honestly. That's the rarest currency in a world full of facades. Many of us operate from a place of insecurity, trying to make ourselves enough to be chosen. We compare ourselves to others, analyze every interaction, and overgive in hopes of proving we're worthy. But what if you stopped chasing worthiness and started sharing value, real value, the kind that says, here's what it feels like to be with me. That's where your power lies. Not in proving that you're better, but in showing that being around you feels better. When someone can be around you and feel lighter, safer, freer, that's priceless. That's what people come back for. Not the gifts, not the effort, the feeling. It's not about lowering your standards or trying to please. It's about being intentional with your presence. Ask yourself, what emotional imprint do I leave when I walk out of a room? Did I make them feel important? Did I listen in a way that made them feel heard? Did I bring my authentic energy, or was I trying to mold myself into what I thought they wanted? When you focus on giving a powerful emotional experience, you stop needing to compete. You don't need to win them. You need to resonate with them. That's a whole different game, and it's the one worth playing. The truth is, people are starving for something real. They're overstimulated, overpursued, and underconnected. That's where your edge is. Instead of adding to the noise, offer silence with depth. Instead of showing off your life, ask about theirs. Instead of performing perfection, express presence. And when they feel that shift, they feel seen, not sold to, they'll lean in. Because in a world of options, the one they remember is the one who touched something deeper. You don't need to be the best. You just need to be the one who felt different. We grow up thinking that if we're always available, always eager, and always ready to say yes, we'll finally get the love we want. But being constantly available isn't attractive, it's predictable. And predictability without mystery kills desire. Confidence isn't about showing up for someone at all costs. It's about showing up without losing yourself. When you're truly confident, your presence doesn't say, please pick me. It says, I already know my value. That energy is magnetic. When you're too available, it's easy to get taken for granted, no matter how good your intentions are. The key isn't to withdraw love, it's to offer it from a place of strength, not scarcity. When you act like you're the only one with something to lose, you already have. Scarcity is a fear response. It tells you, if I don't keep showing up, they'll forget me. But confidence says, if I stop showing up and they forget me, they were never for me. That's the internal power shift. One mindset is desperate, the other is decisive. When someone feels your confidence, not arrogance, but grounded, healthy self-worth, it's unforgettable. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about caring with dignity. That means you can be kind without being a doormat. You can be interested without being overinvested. You can love without losing leverage. We've been taught to believe that love is earned by doing more time, more texts, more gestures. But when you do too much too fast, it can come off as trying to buy their choice instead of being someone worth choosing. Love given from insecurity always seeks reassurance. Love given from confidence doesn't ask, do you still like me? It knows that who you are is enough. When you know you bring value to someone's life, you don't need to shout it. You live it. Confidence allows you to slow down. It lets you observe how someone shows up for you too. That's how you find mutual energy instead of one-sided effort. We think being chosen means doing everything right, saying the right thing, being agreeable, playing the role they expect. But the truth is, people don't want perfection, they want truth. You don't need to be flawless, you need to be rooted. Rooted in your values, in your boundaries, in your emotional center. When you live from that place, people feel safe around you, not because you're always available, but because you're consistent in who you are. When someone has lots of options, the loudest voices blend into the noise. But when they meet someone grounded, someone who doesn't flinch at the thought of losing them, they take notice. That's the power of presence without pressure. Sometimes we confuse intensity with importance. Just because you feel strongly about someone doesn't mean they're right for you. And just because someone doesn't choose you back doesn't mean you weren't worthy. Confidence gives you the ability to accept that not all connections are meant to last. It gives you the clarity to stop proving and start observing. You begin to look less at how much you want someone and more at how they show up in your life. That's a shift from desperation to discernment. You become less focused on being chosen and more focused on choosing right. This is what makes you powerful, even in the face of rejection. Being confident doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean withholding affection or pretending not to care. That's manipulation, not maturity. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't scream for attention. It commands respect. It shows up without fanfare, but you feel it when it enters the room. It's knowing that if someone doesn't recognize your value, that's not a cue to work harder. It's a cue to walk away. That's what separates confident people from the rest. They don't audition endlessly for roles they weren't meant to play. They know their worth is not dependent on someone else's awareness of it. What makes someone irresistible isn't their looks or their status. It's how they carry themselves. It's the calm in their eyes, the self-respect in their no, the strength behind their boundaries. When someone has options, they don't just look for excitement. They look for security. And when you radiate inner security, it stands out more than charm ever could. You stop needing to impress because your life already speaks for itself. You don't chase attention, you attract connection. That's what happens when you stop needing everyone to like you and start focusing on being aligned with the right people. Confidence also gives you space to slow down, to breathe, to assess, to ask, does this feel good for me? Not just, how do I make it work for them? That's the shift that keeps you in your power. People who have lots of options are drawn to those who don't act out of panic. When you're calm, it creates contrast. It tells them, this person isn't afraid of losing me because they already know what they bring. That's incredibly attractive. It creates curiosity. It creates admiration. You become the standard, not the exception. We often think the more emotionally invested we are, the more we need to fight for it. But sometimes the most powerful move is to pause. When you stop pouring energy into proving yourself, you start channeling energy into preserving yourself. You show them that your peace comes first, that you're not here to convince anyone to stay. You're here to share your life with someone who wants to be there. That attitude doesn't push people away. It attracts the right ones in. Because they sense they're not just stepping into your world. You're offering them a chance to earn a place in it. You don't get chosen by forcing closeness. You get chosen by holding your space and letting connection unfold. You get chosen when your presence is valuable enough that they miss it when it's gone. That's what happens when you're not chasing, not pushing, not overgiving. You become a person of gravity, not grasping. That's the energy of someone who's not trying to be liked by everyone, but who's deeply aligned with themselves. And in a world full of people trying to get attention, that stillness, that self-assurance, it cuts through the noise like nothing else. When someone is surrounded by options, the loudest voice rarely wins. It's the clearest, calmest one that cuts through. Most people are trying to be impressive. Few are trying to make someone feel emotionally safe. That's the true differentiator. When someone feels like they can breathe around you, when they don't have to perform, when they don't feel judged, that's when you stand out. It's not the fireworks of passion that keep people, it's the foundation of safety that makes them stay. When the world feels chaotic, the most attractive presence is the one that offers clarity and calm. You don't need to be overwhelming. You just need to be the one who feels like home. People always return to where they feel the most free to be themselves. We underestimate how powerful emotional safety is because we're told to be exciting, sexy, or mysterious. But none of that matters if someone feels they can't relax around you. If every moment feels like a test, they'll stop showing up. They'll start pulling back. Not because they are bored, but because they're tired. Safety doesn't mean boring. It means consistent, emotionally stable, present. And when someone knows that you won't turn every vulnerability into leverage, they start opening up. That's when intimacy begins. Not through flashy moments, but through subtle, powerful trust. You become the person they confide in, not just flirt with, and that's where real connection lies. When someone has lots of options, they're often navigating emotional overstimulation. Everyone's trying to impress, to prove, to stand out. But the one who wins isn't the one doing the most. It's the one who creates space for them to just be. Emotional safety gives someone permission to stop performing. And when someone can exhale with you, they want to inhale life with you too. You become the break in their busy mind, the person they look forward to not just for stimulation, but for peace. That peace becomes addictive. It makes you unforgettable, even in a sea of exciting distractions, because peace isn't passive, it's powerful. The truth is, most people aren't looking for more excitement, they're looking for more relief. They want someone who doesn't add to their anxiety, someone who can listen without always needing to fix, someone who can hold a moment without rushing to fill the silence. If you can be that person, you become rare. In today's world, people aren't starving for attention. They're starving for presence. Presence means you're really there, not scrolling, not proving, just there, listening, noticing, supporting without smothering. And when you offer that, you give someone something most people can't. People don't always remember what you said, but they remember how they felt around you. That's the truth of human connection. You could have the best lines, the most interesting stories, the most polished persona, but if the energy feels unsafe, it won't matter. What people crave is emotional ease. They want to feel accepted, not analyzed. Welcomed, not evaluated. Safe, not scrutinized. When someone's with you, do they feel like they can relax, or do they feel like they're being subtly judged or managed? The person who can drop the performance and invite authenticity will always be the one remembered. Most people think being chosen is about standing out visually or intellectually, but long-term connection is about emotional alignment. If someone feels emotionally misunderstood or unheld, they'll drift, no matter how attractive or clever you are. But if they feel that around you, their walls can fall, that they don't need to censor themselves, they'll start choosing you, even unconsciously. That's the power of real intimacy. It's not fireworks, it's gravity. You draw them in without chasing, because what you're offering isn't just love or attention. It's emotional oxygen, and once they breathe it, they won't want to go back to holding their breath. The goal isn't to be the most stimulating person in the room, it's to be the most grounding. Think about that. People are drawn to what soothes them, not what constantly demands more of them. When your presence helps someone feel more connected to themselves, they'll associate you with clarity, not confusion. And clarity is what people crave when they're overwhelmed with choice. If someone feels emotionally dizzy with other options, you become the still point, not because you're passive, but because you're anchored. Anchored people don't flinch when others try to impress. They stay steady, and that steadiness speaks volumes. It's easy to think that if you're not constantly entertaining someone, you'll lose them. But true connection isn't built in highs. It's built in steadiness. People don't stay for the adrenaline. They stay for the emotional rhythm they can trust. Ask yourself, can someone count on your energy to be consistent? Can they open up without fear of backlash or retreat? Can they express doubt, confusion, sadness, without you shrinking or trying to fix it? When you become the person who holds emotional space instead of filling it, you become rare. And rare isn't just chosen, it's kept. One of the greatest gifts you can offer is letting someone feel seen without being examined. It's subtle but powerful. You can notice without invading, be curious without interrogating. Be close without controlling. This is what makes someone feel emotionally safe. When they don't feel like a project, a prize, or a performance, they feel like a person. And when someone feels truly human in your presence, they feel free. And freedom is addictive, not the freedom to run away, but the freedom to lean in without fear. When you create that space, you don't have to convince anyone to stay. They'll want to stay because nowhere else feels quite like it. It doesn't take the most charismatic person to be chosen. It takes the most connected, And connection isn't built through strategy, it's built through sincerity. Be someone who shows up gently, who listens deeply, who responds with care instead of ego, and suddenly you won't need to be the most exciting option, you'll be the most safe one. And when someone has lots of options, safety isn't just attractive, it's irreplaceable. Because when everything else feels like noise, they'll return to the place that feels like quiet understanding. Be that place, be that person. The one they trust, not because you tried hard, but because you made it safe to stop trying. We live in a world where being chosen often feels like a prize, like we win when someone picks us out of the crowd. But the real power comes when you realize that you are also doing the choosing. When someone has a lot of options, the best way to stand out is to act like you have options too, not out of ego, but out of truth. You don't win someone over by making yourself smaller. You win by knowing your worth so deeply that you never chase approval. When someone senses that you're not desperate for validation, they start seeing you differently. You go from being someone who's trying to be liked to someone who's deciding if they're right for you. That's where the dynamic changes. When you place someone on a pedestal, you stop seeing clearly. You ignore red flags. You excuse bad behavior. You start asking, how do I keep them? Instead of, do I even like how they treat me? That's when you give your power away. Choosing someone isn't about proving yourself, it's about paying attention. Watch how they respond to your boundaries. Watch how they handle your needs. If you keep showing up while they do the bare minimum, you're not being chosen. You're being convenient. And when you accept being convenient, you lose the chance to be respected. The moment you raise your standards, you force others to meet you or move on. You don't attract high-quality connection by begging to be seen. You attract it by living in alignment with your standards. People feel it when you're not afraid to walk away, not out of anger, not to manipulate, but because your peace matters more than proximity. That's attractive. That tells someone you're not looking for attention. You're looking for alignment. And when someone knows you're not afraid to lose them, they approach you differently. They listen more closely. They show up with intention because they understand that being in your life is not a right. It's a privilege that needs to be earned. The best relationships aren't built on proving your value. They're built on sharing it. You don't need to convince someone to choose you. You just need to be someone worth choosing. That means showing up in your fullness without apology. You know what you bring to the table, so you're not afraid to eat alone. You're not selling yourself. You're expressing yourself. You're not campaigning. You're communicating. You're not adapting to fit someone else's needs. You're staying rooted in your own truth. And when someone sees that level of self-trust, it either inspires them or intimidates them. Either way, it gives you the clarity to choose back. When someone has lots of options, they're used to being chased. They're used to people folding their own standards just to stay close. But when you're different, when you make it clear that you won't trade your self-respect for temporary connection, that's when they pause. They wonder, why aren't they trying to impress me? The answer is simple, because you're already impressed with your own life. You're not waiting to be validated. You're busy living. That's magnetic. That's how you become a mystery in a world full of people trying too hard. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not distant. You're discerning. Powerful people don't chase people. They chase peace. They chase growth. They chase purpose. When someone sees that your life is full, with or without them, it creates curiosity. They wonder what it would take to belong in that life. That's how the frame shifts. Instead of trying to squeeze into someone else's world, you become the world someone wants to enter. And not because you convinced them, but because your energy invited them. You're not available just because they called. You're available when their effort matches your value. That's when choosing becomes mutual. Not a gift, but a shared decision. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. Every time you make excuses for someone's inconsistency, you send the message that your time is flexible. Every time you ignore your needs, you say, "This is okay with me." But when you raise the bar, not in a harsh way, but in a calm, clear way. You reset the energy. You're no longer chasing love, you're curating it. You're no longer fighting to keep someone, you're filtering for someone who fits. And suddenly, you're not asking, why won't they choose me? You're asking, do they even deserve me? That's a question born from power. You don't make someone choose you by overperforming. You make someone choose you by being honest. Honest about what you want. Honest about what you need. Honest about what you're not willing to accept. That honesty either pulls someone in or pushes them away. But either outcome gives you truth. And truth is better than wasting time. You're not here to win a game. You're here to build something real. And real connection doesn't come from trying to be the most likable. It comes from being the most authentic. You're not competing. You're standing. There's a difference. Letting go of the outcome is the ultimate power move. When you stop trying to control someone's decision, you start taking full control of your own. You begin to understand that you don't need to be picked to be powerful. You already are. And from that place, you start attracting people who see you. Not because you bent over backwards, but because you stood tall. Choosing someone while staying in your power is a rare balance. Most people give one up to keep the other, but you don't have to. You can want someone and still walk away if it costs you your dignity. That's what real strength looks like. There is nothing more attractive than someone who knows their worth but doesn't need to prove it. Someone who isn't afraid of being alone. Someone who would rather be alone than with the wrong energy. You become the chooser, not the beggar. You become the standard, not the seeker. And when you show up like that, people don't just choose you because you're an option. They choose you because you're an elevation, a leveling up of what they thought they wanted. Because when you stop needing to be picked and start standing in your truth, you don't chase people. You call them forward.